everyone. I hope everyone's having a lovely day so far and have all been having a really nice and creative week. This weekend I went to Malton Park, which is not a long drive from where I live. Me and my mum went and we did some plein air painting. I kind of just did a little bit of a sketch, but I think my mum used some of her watercolours. And it's basically just a little riverside walk, and I have taken some footage of some scenic scenes to place into my YouTube video, so I hope you do enjoy those bits. Some of them might come across a little choppy. There was quite a lot of dog walkers and some family members with their kids, just because it's a good little riverside to use nets just to have a look at fish, because there is a lot of fish there. I don't know if they're a type of pond minnow, or if they're just a normal like kind of cloud type minnow, or if they're a trout. I literally don't know what these fish are. But they were jumping out of the water and they were quite big, these fish, so I'm assuming it wasn't a minnow. But yes, there was a lot of kids there with their little nets and buckets having a look at the fish. So I've cut them bits out because obviously I don't want to catch people in frame or in videos that they're unaware are being recorded, so I've cut them bits out. But it was just a really lovely walk. The weather was not the best. It was raining when we first got there, so we had a little coffee first and we kind of just sat in the car for about 10-15 minutes, and then we decided just to go for a walk while it was still drizzling. The rain had calmed down quite a bit, and then luckily for us, once we found a perfect spot to kind of sit, it actually stopped raining, so we just took some tissues, just wiped the bench down, and we kind of just sat next to the riverside and started sketching, and it was a really fun time. The scenery was just really inspiring. It was really hard to pick a spot to sit because every bench that we crossed, me and my mum were like, well, this bit's nice and this bit's nice. Even though it was quite a downcast day, it was quite muggy and it was a little humid, so it was still quite warm, but it was raining, and obviously it was a lot of cloud cover, so it was quite dark, but it ended up being a really nice day out, even though it was raining. When we did finally decide to have a sit down, I just kind of sketched what was in front of me. I did a bit of the river with some tree foliage, and then later on in the video I did do a second sketch because I had some time to spare, and I did just this little tree part with the river in the background instead. When I go plein air painting, I don't usually really paint. Sometimes I will do a light wash of watercolour or a fine liner, and or sometimes I'll even do a background with highlighters, my muted tones, and kind of just do a rough loose sketch of whatever I am doing at the time or wherever I'm plein air painting. And then I tend to take my sketchbook back home, and then I'll kind of finish the painting more properly once I'm home, just because I feel not that I feel a bit more comfortable. I don't really get nervous plein air painting. There was a gentleman that did pass us, and he did start talking to us once he realised we were drawing and asking us what we were doing. That kind of thing doesn't bother me. I just for some reason struggle to paint, and there wasn't any area, with everything being wet, there wasn't really any area to put the paints and put things down, so everything kind of had to be on our lap, so it was just a little inconvenient to, I think, get the paints out. So we kind of just stuck with doing sketches and pencil sketches, and I think my mum definitely did, but we added some fine liner and markers, I think, on top of it, and then I just finished these once I was home. This week I've been really focused on creating different products and building up product merchandise that I can eventually sell, and in the process of learning and gaining knowledge on setting up my own online shop. I'm still in the learning process of this, but coming up with different ideas of things to sell. I am obviously thinking of starting off with stickers and prints first off, and original pieces. I would really love, in the big goal of things, to make notepads and journals, because I do a lot of journaling and I do like to write. I like to write probably just as much as I like to paint and draw. So that would be one of my biggest goals, I think, is to make notepads and journals. But I'm just thinking of different products, and I've been building up different things to sell and creating just different pieces and trying to build up a bit of a quantity of products and things that I can eventually use. But while I'm doing that, I have set up a Ko-fi account, which I will link down below. At the moment there is no membership tiers on it. It is all just for free. I will just be posting sketchbook pages on there that I do for each month, and I'm also going to include photos that I take around these scenic areas in the northeast of the UK that I take, and you can use them as free reference photos. I know there is good sites like Pexels and Pixabay which you can get good free referencing photos as well, but I'll just place them on that, and it'll be free for now, and then I think later down the line I will be looking into making membership tiers once I have a bit more of a scope of where I want to go with all this. And yeah, I will be trying to stick to my first couple of posts are going to be sketchbook pages that I have already shown on my other social medias, but they eventually will just be sketchbook pages that I only upload onto Ko-fi, and they won't be on any of my other platforms, just to kind of make it a bit different. But yes, I will link that down below, guys, and feel free to give that a follow and a like. And I've also been really focusing on digital products. I have the app Procreate and Canva, and I've been doing different art pieces. I've always did drawings on Procreate, but they're more like anime based. I'm a bit of a nerd. I do like my films and my animations, so that's them kind of sketches that I do on Procreate. So I've never really thought or bothered to really share them, but if you would like to see digital pieces that I have done as well, feel free to link down below. I have worked with National Bat Monitoring Programme for the UK for a couple of things. One thing I can't show yet, but that will be getting published on November, which I'm so excited about. Eventually show you what I did for them, but I did a postcard and a calendar piece for that company, and I just think it would be really cool to be able to show them, but I'll have to wait for November for that one, unfortunately. But yeah, if anyone would be interested in seeing digital pieces that I've made, feel free to comment down below. And I just thought I would quickly mention that in, but if anyone's got any suggestions of things you would prefer to see, whether that's in my YouTube videos or on my socials, or that you would like to see in my future online shop, feel free to comment down below whether you agree with the prints and the stickers, or if you think the notepads and journals are a bit of a better shout, or would be something you'd be more interested in. Feel free to let me know down below. Your comments mean the world to me, and I do love reading through them. Also feel free to let me know down below in the comments what you guys have been doing art-wise this week. I am always so intrigued in what everyone's painting and doing. I just love art in general, and even writing. If you like to write and read, they're my next probably hobbies that are probably up there with my art. I love them just as much, and I don't think I could pick between the three things. If you like to do those kinds of things as well, feel free to let me know what books you've been reading or what you've been kind of writing about. If you do stories, if you just do poetry, or you do just journaling, I like to know all these different things. I find it really fun, and I also just love reading people's opinions and thoughts on things, and I do take them into consideration as well, and they really do help, I think, everyone grow in a sense. Same for when people get comments on their own channels. For the watercolours, I went in with the Winsor&Newton Cotton watercolours. These are just the easiest for me to transport. I did take them with me to Malton Park, but I didn't end up using them. I do have another plein air video that will be going out next week, and I may potentially upload it to my Ko-fi as well, but it was at Dujardin Reservoir. I did use my watercolours in there, so if you kind of prefer that, it'll be upcoming in next week's video. But for this week's video, just because the weather was so muggy and it wasn't the best weather and it was on and off with rain, we just did quick sketches, and I kind of just did a loose sketch. I did add some highlight to my second sketch, and then once I was home and a bit more comfy and I was nice and warm and toasty and had my cup of tea, I then went in with the watercolours. But like I say, when I do go plein air painting, if it's sunny or the weather's nice enough and I do have time, I usually take my small pan. I've got cotton watercolours in 2 different palette pans. The big white one, which you see in a lot of videos, I think I used it in my Australian pelican video and also my latest video before this one. And it's in the white pan, but I'm trying to use them up. And then I've got the little rosa palette pan, which is a metal tin, and I take that plein air painting because it's just so small and compact, and it has like the little tray bit that pulls out that I can do like mix my colours on, and it's just really easy to keep clean and wipe down and like rinse off basically no matter where you're at. In terms of the pens, as always, I went in with my Faber-Castell dual markers and some of the Posca acrylic markers. This is a duo that I do all the time. I just love it. I love a bit of watercolour underneath and then just markers on top. I think mixed media is definitely my kind of thing. I, over the years, have been trying to develop a bit more of an art style, and I definitely think I'm slowly figuring out what my art style is. And I did this little pattern with the Poscas and the black and the outlining, and then also some of the Faber-Castell to do the trees, and I kind of just did random lines and swirls, and I thought ended up being really effective, which I will show you at the end of the video when you see the full sketches once they're complete. And I found it really effective, and I really like this way of doing trees. Like I say, I'm not the best when it comes to doing scenery, so I think this is my kind of thing, just loose kind of scribble bubble effect, I don't know what to call it. And then I did like a loose dabble, like stipple effect with some of the paintbrushes, and I think it ended up working out quite effective. There was a few areas that I did that I wasn't too keen on, and I did end up going back over in watercolour and just leaving it as watercolour without any marker on, which I think was on the second sketch. I ended up going with a blue marker, and it was just too blue. if that makes any sense. Not that I don't like the colour blue, but it just didn't match the rest of what I was envisioning. So I went back over with watercolour and just kind of dulled it down a little bit so it wasn't as vibrant, just because I wanted the tree to stand out the most in the second sketch. But yeah, so I definitely think I'm coming up with a bit of an art style. And obviously if you're not new to my channel and you've seen a lot of my videos, you will know that I'm pretty much obsessed now. Every painting I do, it's always watercolours or gouache, and then I always go in with the markers, especially my Poscas. My white and cream, I think it's white, sorry, and ivory, the other colour's called. Them two Poscas are like my favourites for highlights and outlines. Like I just put it on everything, and now I'm starting to become obsessed with the black Posca and just doing that for outlines of trees, just so that it darkens it, especially when they're in the foreground. And I just found it was really effective in general, basically. I'm just kind of rambling about that, but I can't explain how much I just love using markers. It's just one of my favourite things. For the trees, like I said previously, I kind of went with like a wispy look to them using the different Posca colours. I really liked how that turned out. I just did the water very loosely and just did some blues and white highlights just to kind of accentuate the fact that it was water. I hope that kind of comes through. I feel like I didn't do too bad, but like I say, I think I mentioned in a previous video, I think it was when I was doing my lavender field and Highland Cow, there was a scene picture that I was trying to do that was supposed to be waterfall, and I ended up talking in that video how my next thing I think I'm going to try and focus on is learning how to draw and paint water, as I really do struggle with it. I'm just not the best at it, and I also struggle with trees, so I think this kind of loose, more abstracty, wispy look for trees I think is my kind of style, and I think it's just easier for me and I really enjoy doing it. And I just feel like I'm coming to terms with not being the best at realism when it comes to certain aspects. I feel like I can draw animals quite well, and I feel like I can draw animated characters quite well, and some still life things I can do. Like I don't think I do like the fruits, and the lemonade turned out really well, and the fruit slices, and I was okay with the cakes and things like that and plants. But the moment it kind of comes to trees specifically and water, they're probably my two hardest spots. I really struggle with that. And then when I'm doing anatomy, it would definitely be feet and the noses. I really struggle. I used to struggle with hands, but I ended up drawing, I think I've shown them before, digital pieces. I've did digital pieces on Procreate of hands, and even my art logo for my channel is like two hands, and I just drew them so long, and I kept forcing myself to draw hands, and I eventually become accustomed to where I don't struggle too much now when doing hands. I still have the odd moment where I end up drawing the thumbs a bit too big and I have to redo them, but it definitely just proves if you do things more and more, you do get better at it naturally. And trees and water are just two of them things that I just have not did enough of or tried enough of, and that's one thing I do struggle with still to this day. So I think this kind of more loose abstracty effect for them is a little bit better and easier for me. So I was really happy with how the trees turned out, and I also really liked the kind of loose rough edges of it, and I liked how vibrant the Poscas looked in comparison to the background of the watercolour, where the watercolour was lighter. And I definitely find myself being more happy when I do my art, and I really enjoy it now. I think I mentioned, once again, sorry, I'm talking about so many previous videos, but in a previous video I did mention about I used to find sketchbooking an absolute nightmare about maybe last year, 2 years ago, and I used to just dread doing videos sometimes because I was just so unhappy with how a lot of my art was turning out, not realising that it's just all a learning curve. And I definitely find I'm starting to find my art style, and I definitely enjoy my art much more now, and now that I don't put as much pressure on myself, or not that I don't care how the piece turns out, but I don't put so much care as in how the outcome is going to be. I just kind of enjoy the art in the moment there and then. I definitely have found it's made my mental view on my art much better, and I enjoy it far more, and I don't seem to get as frustrated now when I do sketchbooking, and I really enjoy it. It goes everywhere now with me, my sketchbook, and I have filled quite a couple of sketchbooks now, and I just find it really happy, yes. And I find I am finding my art style more and more as more paintings go on, and I don't know, it makes me happy. I just like it. I think it's just, I finally accepted what my art looks like, and that is just how it is and how it looks. And everyone's art is different, because obviously if everyone's art was the same, it would be a bit of a boring world, wouldn't it? And our art is all precious because obviously it is what we have created from our, literally like your own imagination or your own creation, or it is your view of the world, your art. So I feel like everyone's art is different because that is their view of the world, and that is what makes it all cool. Like, everyone likes different paintings for a reason, and I basically have been taking inspiration from that, and I find other people's videos. I've got a lot of YouTube friends and I watch their videos every time they upload, and I find myself getting inspired by even their videos and their art. Even though we might all have different art styles, it's still just inspiring to watch other people paint and draw, even if it is not your style of art, or it's something, a medium that you don't work with. It just can be really helpful, I find. And I think that's why it's so cool to create art and upload it to social medias and YouTube, because you get to see other people and you might inspire other people as well.
Bensound.com.
So finally, I think this is as much rambling I'm going to do in this week's video. I feel like I've talked all your ears off. I hope you don't mind. I'm a bit of a gobby one. I just ramble on sometimes. But if you guys did enjoy this week's video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. It really does mean a lot and helps the channel out loads. Feel free to comment down below any arty stuff you have all been up to this week. I love reading everyone's comments like I mentioned before. And thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in next week's video, guys. Have a safe week. Bye.